And welcome into the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. That's right. We are Elevation 5280 Sports back on a new network. Matt and Michael hanging out with you once again on this Sunday morning. Matt, how the heck are you? It's been a while.
I know. I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. A lot's happened since the last time we've got together, but I'm doing great. How about you? How are you doing? You hanging in
Doing,
there?
yeah. I mean, there's been a Colorado championship since then. There's been a new Broncos quarterback since then.
Mm-hmm.
There's been the Rockies, and then there's even been a lacrosse championship since we last
Right.
spoke on any of these platforms. So we got a lot to get into. We're here for an hour with you once again. Catch the stream on our original Facebook page. That is Elevation 5280 Sports. We just changed the logo. It's now a show, and you can follow everything going on at the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Follow the Facebook page. You can follow us personally on Twitter right there on the bottom ticker at Matt Mascarenas1 or at Michael Spillin or at 5280 Radio. We are streaming live on the Rocky Mountain Sports Facebook page, our Facebook page, and our YouTube page as well. We might switch between YouTube and Twitch as the third streaming destination, just depending on what we feel like that day. So we
Right.
got a lot to get into, Matt. We got an hour to do it. First of all, as you could tell by my shirt, and wait a minute, Matt, the new addition to the collection.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
So there you go.
That's a nice mug.
Matt, the Avalanche win a Stanley Cup champion. I know we're 2 weeks behind, but it is the off season. Some moves have already been made. Once again, you can follow all the breaking news on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, which we are now a part of. Well, Darcy Kemper, apparently the rumor is that he was never even offered anything really to come back to be the goaltender for the Colorado Avalanche. They instead trade 3 draft picks for Alexander. I'm going to screw this name up every single time.
Right.
Georgiev. It's all hard G's, no soft G's in that name.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was I was shocked by that. I'm sure I'm sure you'll chime in there, but I mean, it's I felt like he kind of earned an opportunity at least. I mean, I don't know. I felt like they would keep him on and kind of go with their same situation, but I did understand them making a move to, I guess, in Sakic's eyes, in their eyes, to improve that position, because there was some times in the Stanley Cup final, and even in the Western Conference Finals, and even you go further back into this some of the rounds where he was the biggest question mark on this hockey team. And I've always, there's one thing I know about hockey. It's the ice is cold usually, unless you're in Tampa Bay, and then they muck it all up in there. But ice is cold, and goalies win you championships. And I mean, I didn't think the Avs were going to do it, because I thought Kemper was going to be that hole in this whole thing. But he played a great game 6. Like I felt like he played well, and then there was I think it was game, I want to say it was game 4, game 4. I can't remember exactly which game it was, but he had a great game, or he let a lot of goals in, but he kept the Avs in the game. So I was shocked by that. Like, what is it? What does that come from, as far as, because you watch hockey a lot, and you're more involved in what's going on with the team and stuff like that. From my perspective, I felt like he needed another shot, or he should at least get another opportunity this season. I mean, I felt like he was a big part of that game 6 win. So that's kind of what I was looking at it, but I'm sure there's more to it than what's, because through the season and stuff like that. I was reading articles and stuff that it was always, they were either going between him and Francouzzi. So I don't, or Frankie. What do we call him? Francis? What do you guys call him? Frankie? Francis?
Well, his nickname is Frankie, but it's I've heard it pronounced like 3 different names, 3 different ways, and that is like Francouz, I think the proper pronunciation is Francois.
Francois.
So, but Frankie is just the easy, lazy way out, I guess. But we'll go with Frankie. And as you mentioned, Kemper, he was going to get overpaid anyway. He was on a 1-year deal, or with his expiring contract when he came over from Arizona. It was a 1-year deal that he had left. He ended up winning a cup, so he was going to get overpaid anyway, whether that's 6 to 8 million somewhere to get that price range. Which honestly, Matt, it's kind of a good thing for the Avalanche that they're kind of moving on. Gorgiev is only making 2.5. I think Frankie's only making around 2.5 as well. So that's saving up cap space because NHL is a hard cap. If you go over, I don't even think you can go over. There's no luxury
Right.
tax like there is in baseball. So you have to, even if you have like $500,000 left, you have to use that, or that's it, or less, or whatever.
Right.
It's like a
Okay.
surplus type thing. But it kind of helps them because now they can bring back Nichushkin. There's also reports that they can also somehow fit Kadri without Kemper coming back. And Kadri had a career year. He's going to be 32, I think, like November or something like that. Near the start of the season. So, Kadri would be on my top of the list as in free agents coming back. I think Burakovsky is going to be gone. He dealt with a lot of injuries. It's funny watching these games, Matt. I think their gloves have probably the most cushion out of anything, and three dudes broke their hand and or thumb blocking pucks. Kadri was a different story. He got dirty shoved into the boards, but
That was, yeah.
yeah. So we'll see what happens with Kadri. I got the bad feeling that he's going to be gone because he won a cup. He's got some red flags, which the Avs know about,
Right.
and he's gonna get. This might be his last contract, so he might be looking for 10 to 12 somewhere in that range from another team. There's a bunch of teams on his, not his personal list, but on his radar that are looking at him. So Darcy, I was up and down with him all season, Matt. I don't know if I don't know if you heard the news a couple, right after the parade and stuff like that he had to go to an optometrist 2 to 3 times a day just to retrain his eye when he got poked in the
Oh,
face by that
wow.
stick. So that may have been affected him when he pulled himself out of the Edmonton game. He said that he couldn't I can never say this word, differentiate between
Got it.
the puck and the tape on a stick. He could not tell which
Oh,
was
wow.
which. So he took himself out of that game. So I'm
That
okay.
sounds like that could play a big issue right there. I mean, you don't want to invest in any money into a guy like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure his eye was okay because in the Tampa series he was solid. He was nails,
Yeah, he was. Yeah, yeah,
especially that game 6 where they scored an early,
yeah.
36 seconds into the game, and then he shuts them out for the rest of the game, and they only had 4. You have to have a good defense, good team in front of you, and I think Darcy is that kind of goalie where he needs a lot of help in front of him, and the Avs obviously have that with the defensive core that they have and the offensive core that they have. So I'm okay with Darcy leaving. It's kind of like it's kind of like been like the quarterback for the Broncos, Matt. I just want someone solid back there. Like I'm tired of going through the Simeons and the Flaccos and the Case Keesums and the whoever else they had, the Paxton Lynch's,
Excellent.
Teddy Bridgewater's. I'm just sick of it.
Teddy
And
B. Yep.
it seems like the Avs have been going through goaltenders like the Broncos have been going through. I think the Avs' last solid goalie, Matt, was Simeon Varlamov, and he wasn't that
Yeah.
bad. If Varlamov had this team in front of him, like
Mm-hmm.
Darcy had now, they may be 2-3 cups deep already.
And that's what I wonder too with this move is because this screams to me that that there's going to be. I feel like there could be this sets up for a trade. You come around the trade deadline, maybe early in the season, maybe get around towards that trade deadline to where I don't know if that goaltender spot is solidified there with these because it sounds like it's going to be going back between these two guys unless this Giorgio Papa Giorgio is good over there, like he's the next big thing. Then I mean I just don't know enough about him to think that. But I was looking at this Avs the roster going in the season, what they're going to do with Kemper or not, and I was thinking in my head, they got to be thinking of some kind of trade to get a goaltender here. They've done it already. They've done it before in the past, and it made their team even better. And you look back at the past Stanley Cup teams, they had to trade for Patrick Roy to get over that hump to help them to get in the next one. They got a cup now, and I feel like that there's and unless there's they got this guy just comes out and he's tremendous. I feel like there's do you get that feeling that there could be a trade that they're kind of ampling up towards a trade this season somewhere somehow?
Well, I don't know if maybe at the trade deadline, if either of these goalies, whether it's Frankie, I like I like your name for Gorgiev, Papa Giorgio, but
I just popped in my because I saw that and I'm like, that's Papa Giorgio.
yeah, and I was like, is it Jordan? And then it's apparently all hard G's, which is the Russian thing to do, I guess.
Yeah.
But if these either of these guys don't work out, and I think Gorgiev is what I've heard is he's going to be the starter heading into the season, which is kind of unfair for Frankie. I think he deserves
Right.
at least some kind of competition. Like again, this all correlates back to a quarterback competition in training camp. I don't want to compare it to the Drew Lock versus Teddy Bridgewater, which we experienced last training camp. That Teddy versus Drew, that was the most insane,
God.
idiotic, and stupid thing ever. I'm glad everyone who had to do with that is gone.
Yeah.
Every single except for I guess some familiar names like George Payton, but I don't think it was really up to him. And we'll get into the Broncos here in just a little bit. We'll get into the sad state of affairs that is the baseball team, who's still playing behind us. If you look at our little background, and we'll wrap things up with Nuggets, the moves that they've made, and how's it going in summer league for some of the rookies. And yeah, they made some big trades with Kelvin Booth as their new general manager. Speaking of general managers, I don't know if you can go against Joe Sakic here, Matt.
No.
I think he's proven that he knows what he's doing. He just won GM of the year in the National Hockey League. He's made moves to, the Andrew Coglianos, which they re-signed back for a 1-year deal. He was an unrestricted free agent. Arturi Lehkonen, who, this might be the smallest dude on the ice, Matt, but he was clutch.
That dude was awesome, man.
He scored the game-winning goal in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. He was just all over the place, and he's a restricted free agent, which means the Avalanche have his rights. And I guess it's rare in hockey to put an offer sheet, and that the team that you have the rights still can match it. I guess that's very, very rare in hockey. Unlike I think that happens a lot in basketball. But he should be back. I really want to see Kadri back, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Obviously, Kemper's gone. Nichushkin's a big name. They're working on his deal apparently as we speak, so he could be signed by the end of today. And yeah, I think Burakovsky, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think he's gone. He had a couple big goals in the playoffs as well, just couldn't stay on the ice just because of injury and stuff like that. But I think it's still a strong enough team to. I don't want to go as far as say repeat, Matt, but they'll be in the mix once again this next season.
I want to ask you this because I've noticed because I got a lot of friends that are hockey fans, and the feeling I get from those hockey fans, those Avs fans, is that the same feeling I get from Broncos fans. Now, we were talking about it earlier through message, the doc, the 30 for 30 doc with the Red Wings and the Avalanche. I watched that, and then I compared it to kind of what just happened now. And I remember that feeling back then. And I know I got a Red Wings flag back here. And if you want to know the story, the background, I'll get into that sometime. But what I noticed, does this Stanley Cup victory now put the Avalanche like neck and neck with Bronco status in this town? Because I feel like I feel like when the Avs are playing and the Avs are doing their thing, even when they're not, they were a couple years ago, they weren't good. I felt like there was still like that, the same feeling I get from Broncos fans when the Broncos are doing their thing, or like now, how all of a sudden, the Broncos get Russell Wilson and now they're the greatest thing since sliced cheese. Everybody's cocky again, running around, peacocking. Everybody's bad at, the Broncos are the best, this and that. When just last year they were scared to death, like we were talking, and we'll get into that. They didn't know what was going on. So what my question is this getting close to being an Avs town? The Broncos better do something here pretty quick to get the town back. I don't know. I'm not saying there's a competition, but just think about. I'm thinking that this town is getting close to being overtaken by Avs fans, and the Avs might take over that mantle as being the number one team franchise here in this region, because I just get that Avs Broncos feeling from the Avalanche fans. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Do you think that's the case?
I think honestly, I think no matter what other teams do, it's always going to be a Broncos town. But I think the Avs are a close second, maybe a 1A 1B type of look at it. And there's been 6 professional championships in this state, Matt. 3 by the Broncos, 3 by the Avalanche. A lot of similarities in that, Matt. The Avs won their first 2 within 5 years of each other. They should have and probably could have won more within that time. Speaking of the Red Wings, really quickly, um, they should be winning one next, right after the Avalanche, because every year that the Avs have won, the Detroit Red Wings have won one right after.
That's that's awesome. That's I would love to see that rivalry fire up again because of how strong it was. And there's still history there. There's still roots there, and maybe not as gruesome and like crazy as it was in the past. But I feel like that there could be some roots, and they're in opposite conferences now. So I mean, Stanley
That's
Cup
what,
final would be great.
that's the one mistake the NHL did when they kind of realigned the conferences. They moved the Red Wings to the Eastern. I get it; it's the Eastern
Yeah,
time zone, stuff like that. But you took away one of the best rivalry in all of sports by moving the Red Wings to a different conference. And I understand it, I guess, just because of the region and part of the country they're in, but still,
right.
it's kind of it was kind of sad to see them leave the Western Conference. But with the addition of the Seattle Kraken,
The
I guess
Kraken.
they got to move stuff around, and the Vegas Golden Knights, which kind of screwed things up as well. Both two expansion teams, which kind of you had to move stuff around. So
Yeah,
I guess that's what the deal was there. Going back though to that documentary you mentioned, I was only 9 or 10 when that all that went down. I remember watching the first Stanley Cup team in '96 at a family reunion. We're all huddled around like a little TV, watching the Avs win their first Stanley Cup. And as I mentioned, the Broncos, they obviously won back to back in
right.
'97, '98, very close to the Avs championship, their first one. It's kind of, you brought it up. It's kind of weird to think about how the Avs are the first championship winning
Yeah.
team, and it was their first season in Denver,
Mhm.
coming right over from Quebec land. So that's kind of interesting. And how about this correlation between the two teams as well, Matt? John Elway, 2 championships as a player, one as a front office guy. Joe Sakic, 2 as a player, 1 as a front office guy. So there's a lot of similarities between the two.
Oh, 100 for sure. And that's why that's why I asked that question. And I started to just talk to some people around town and the fans that my friends that I know are both diehard Bronco fans and Av fans. And they're the same love, the same passion for the Avs that they show for the Broncos, they have that for the Avs. So I like the 1A, 1B thing, but if the Broncos don't win something here pretty quick, I think this could be taken over as a hockey town.
Yeah, and like I said, I think no matter, and we'll transition with that. We'll transition into Bronco talk right now. But I think no matter what unfortunately, what other teams are going to do, it is always going to be a Bronco town. I mean, we've been starving for that
They're
quarterback position
starving.
to get secured up. You bring in Russell Wilson. It's been a few months since we've talked on one of these platforms, like I mentioned at the start of the show, Matt. So we we have to get our opinions on that. We're really quickly here as we transition. Once again, go like the Rocky Mountain Sports Network Facebook page. Go follow them up on Instagram at Rocky MTNSN. That's if you're from Denver, you know what that means. That means mountain, the MTN. So go follow everything that they do as well. You'll see me post a few things on there as well.
Yeah.
A lot of breaking news, a lot of signings, stuff like that, and all of the other podcasts and shows you want to. It's all Colorado, so you'll love it. And yeah, Matt, this whole Russell Wilson thing is huge. He brings in a team, not only his team, but how about this, Matt? When he was in Seattle, they had to send an extra plane. Seattle Seahawks had to send an extra plane just for his team, like his little R3. If you've seen him, he
Yeah.
wears like R3 stuff,
Mhm.
and Ciara's team, his wife, the singer. So they had to send an extra plane just for the separate teams that they come with them. Do you think that the Seattle Seahawks were just kind of over that? Pete Carroll was over that. Obviously, they said it was mutual in the press conference and stuff like that, but
Right.
we all know that there was a rift at some point between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson's team. And do you think the Broncos are like, you know what? We'll send 8 planes. We don't care. We'll deal with it.
100%. Like you just nailed it right there. 100%. I think the Broncos were like, yeah, bring you want to have more. We can get Team Tebow involved. We can have his team come too, and we can have all kinds of teams. We can have all kinds of stuff going on as long as you come play quarterback for this football team. You know, Yes, do it. I just think the Broncos, and it's not a bad move. Like if that's what comes with it, and don't get me wrong, I am sure that at some point along the line, especially if losses start to pile up, this stuff could become or looked at. Is this a distraction? Could be questioned as could this be or pointed at is that's a distraction. But if Russell Wilson's done it everywhere in his whole career and he's done it, then I mean it's just the way it is. It's just what you get with Russell Wilson. You get the whole you get Mr. Unlimited, you get the whole package, and it's a kind of a breath of fresh air because you're looking at it as somebody from Denver, somebody from Colorado, like man, that's a Sierra's a not only Russ Wilson, but Sierra's I mean that's she's a global star. I guess we could say she's a freaking global star. I think she is. And to have her here representing the town, representing the state, representing the city, it's pretty freaking cool. It's pretty freaking cool to see all that. So I'm excited to see all that. Not only what he can do on the football field, and we'll get into, but I'm excited to see all the stuff that he brings to the market, to Denver, to Colorado. So it's pretty cool so far.
Do you think that they, I guess maybe this is for lack of a better term, have to win a championship in Russell Wilson's first year, or is that just kind of that's kind of unfair to put that on the first year? Or he said he has what 8-10 years left in him. He
Yeah.
wants to play till he's 8. Every player is going to say that in their introductory press conference with the new team. But do you think that's unfair expectations to put on this team, or do you think that it's a possibility that they can actually do that?
I think it's a possibility that they can actually do that. With everything that's happened for this team so far, they got a brand new coach. There's so much you get the placebo effect. There's so much placebo it's just oozing all over this town and all over this football team right now. So I absolutely think that they can ride that high going in. And if they let Russ cook, all Russ wants to do is cook. Just give him an apron, let him cook, and see what happens. But I do think they can win the Super Bowl. And I don't think it's unfair to think or to put that on them that they should win it. But I do think that they need to at least win a playoff game this season with everything that's going right now, the way we're looking at it. Everybody's healthy, everybody's presumably healthy, everybody's, flowing. We're going to see what the whole offense looks like when we get in preseason. So there's all kinds of question marks that are left unanswered that can happen, that can change things. But right now, they at least got to get into the playoffs and win a playoff game. I would love it if they would. I think that I mean, deep down, I feel like if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, it is a failure. But I know that is unfair. You can't, because there's so many things that can happen. But at least make the freaking playoffs and win a playoff game. And I think that would be satisfied with that, and that you can check that off is this season being a success if they win at least a playoff game. That's where I'm looking at so far.
A couple things also I want to throw at you, and one of them is, well, since we're on the new network, Matt, you mentioned the Detroit Red Wings banner, but you're also a Green Bay Packers fan. So
Yes,
I want to ask you about Nathaniel Hackett, about Justin Outman, the new offensive coordinator. Obviously, Hackett's going to be calling plays. It's weird because you look back at like the early football, and early football for me is like the 90s. So that's what I have to correlate this to. But the head coach was just in charge of everybody. He let the offensive coordinator, I think Gary Kubiak, if I'm not
right.
mistaken, call plays for a little bit of time when he was the offensive coordinator. You had Greg Robinson as the defensive coordinator. Shanahan let those guys do their thing. But now, the head coach wants all of the power. You look back at Josh McDaniels, who totally, well, if you, in retrospect, man, he kind of saved the Broncos franchise because they never would have got Peyton Manning. And now, they go through a couple lean years. Now they have Russell Wilson. But what is the point of Justin Outman if Nathaniel Hackett's going to be calling plays?
I think with what I noticed in the Packers with the Packers with these two guys was Lafleur. He called all the plays, and he was he was a big part of that. So as far as the plays calling, and I guess Hackett called plays with Jacksonville too for a little bit, so he does have the experience. But what I got from the Packers, and I think what you're going to see here, the effect of these two immediately is the run game. The Packers run game And Eric say, well, how can you say the run game? I mean, you look at the backs that they used over there. They had Jamal Williams, they had Aaron Jones, and then they got AJ Dillon. And there's another cat too that, I mean, Jamal Williams left. He's with Detroit last year. But before that, in those first couple seasons with LaFleur and that coaching staff, that run game changed and it got more of it got bigger, more robust kind of a situation with that. And I think that's what you're going to see with the Broncos here. As far as the play calling goes, I hate head coaches that call plays. I absolutely hate it. And the reason why I hate it is because I think a head coach, like you said, needs to, like you mentioned that the head coach in the past, he needs to sit back and manage the entire football game. He needs to be thinking about what if they get the ball back here, what is my defense going to do? What do we need to do with special teams? Do we need to control field position here? Do we need to go score a touchdown? What's the clock look like? All the things Vic Fangio failed at and was horrible at is what I'm afraid of in this situation with Nathaniel Hackett being focused on the offense. That do we have somebody that is there quality? There's always the quality control coaches that you talk about. Those guys usually put things together when you don't have a head. There's all kinds of different positions that some coaches use that that help out with that game management situation that not a lot of people think about that affects football games. And we've seen it countless times with Vic Fangio failing in that place. The kid that's in with the Chargers, he's failed a lot of times in game management situations. The coach for Zach Taylor in I think that's his name in Cleveland or Cincinnati. Yeah, he's failed in sometimes calling plays or calling plays in the game management situation. You look at coaches like Bill Belichick, John Fox. Even I'll throw John Fox out there. He was a great game manager. I hated John Fox at the end of the halves because he would always sit on the football, and that's game management. That's how he did it. And those coaches like that, those coaches that don't call plays, and we're going to see Bill Belichick's calling the offense this year, so we'll see what that's going to look like with him. But for me, typically, historically, I have not been a fan of offensive or play calling head coaches, whether it's defense or offensive. I have not been a fan of it, and I'm curious to see how Hackett's going to do here. We'll see how he does. Maybe he's more of he let's Otten call the plays a little bit more, or call the formations in, then he sends the plays in, or we'll see how it goes. Maybe with a guy like Russell Wilson now, you can it's kind of like Peyton Manning, pull off. Aaron Rodgers kind of pull off a little bit, let them do their thing, let them cook, let Russ cook, and then he can still do game management, but still organize and do the offense. But I think the run game is going to be huge this year for this Denver Bronco team. I really think that those two coming over from Green Bay and what they did in Green Bay, and that uptick with the run game over there, and then the running backs in the passing game, I think that's going to look awesome here with what the situation we have with the two backs that we have here. And even Boone, you throw Boone into that situation too. That guy's somebody that I think is a guy to look out for too on this roster.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up, the play calling and stuff like that. I was just going to ask, I think Russell Wilson is going to kind of ease, take some of that pressure off the play calling. He might be that Peyton Manning type where he checks into a different play without, double thinking it or overthinking it. He's just going to be like, hey, we're going to check into this play, maybe because they are new at their position as a new play caller, as a new offensive coordinator, as a new head coach. Russell Wilson be like, hey, maybe they weren't ready for their defense to come out like this, so I'm just going to check into a different play. Yep. So we have that as well. And we got a message here from Jody Moncrief saying, and that's what Don Capers is here for. Kind of that old school guy who can maybe put, Hackett and Outen and Evero for that fact. He's a first-time defensive play caller too. So he's going to come in here and, kind of take the reins as a new coordinator this year for this defense. Do you think this defense as a whole is like that? Peyton Manning is like that, Russell Wilson, where, they're a pretty good defense. So, they'll make up for the lack in deficiencies in what I call as a defensive play caller.
I think, yeah, I think this defense with Evero, from what I've got from that dude, I think this defense is going to be aggressive. I think this defense is going to cause some turnovers. I don't know if it's going to be a bend but don't break or keep them out of the end zone, or I think it's going to be a get after the quarterback, get after the ball, and get the ball back to our offense so they can score some more points. the thing that I like about, and I'm curious, and I'm really excited to see what this coaching staff does because of everything that they got. It feels like a breath of fresh air or a new mindset with the way that they're going to approach practice plans. I mean, you've already seen already. Music is back, and you see Hackett out there getting involved. Evero's out there. These are younger guys that are going to get involved, and players, especially these younger players. I mean, you got a different generation of players coming up that have seen different kind of coaches, and they go into this this mindset with. I see coach out there vibing with me. I see coach out there talking with, because there's a lot of that going on with this coaching staff. I've noticed that, and I think Evero with this defense is and just because a good defense takes on the personality of their coach, and that his, I think if his personality gets injected in this team, you're going to see a swagger defense. I mean, you kind of saw where he came from there with the Rams, and kind of that influence that he might have had there that he's going to bring to this team. So I'm excited to see what this defense is going to be. I think it's going to be an aggressive, and I think it's going to be a takeaway defense. I really do.
One more Broncos comment here before we switch topics. Once again, Jody Moncrief commenting, the final four teams all had their head coaches call offensive plays last season. Whether it's Sean McVay or like Zach Taylor, like you mentioned, LaFleur. Who was the other AFC team?
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Andy Reid.
Reid. And look how long. And here's a, yeah. And you can go through all that. Let's look at the playoff blunder, the overtime blunders that the head coaches, because they're so worried about, offense on, defense on, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then let's look at Zach Taylor. He's made a lot of blunders. He made some blunders in that Super Bowl. He made some blunders down in the playoffs too. This is the new wave of coaching, is calling your players, head coaches calling your plays. And that's changing a lot. That's getting away from the old coaches. So yeah, you're going to see 4 off calling plays, but that doesn't mean that it's better. That doesn't mean that it's good for your team in particular, if that head coach doesn't have a good game management system in place. Like Andy, look how long it took Andy Reid to get his stuff together finally there in Kansas City. How many franchises did he go to where it took him, and he went through, what do you have, Donovan McNabb, and then he finally came here, showed up here, went through Alex Smith, and finally he got a quarterback, and then finally he even gave up some play calling duties to God, what's the guy's name there that nobody likes, that nobody wants to hire?
Oh man, it's been a while since we talked football, but Eric Bieniemy.
They give some responsibilities to him. So I think with these play calling coaches, they are, again, if you have a good game management in place, a guy that's or personnel or a group of people that are keeping track of what's going on, you can call the plays, and then you just look at your sheet and you got colored, everything's color coded. All right, this situation, I mean, this is literally how it is. You look at this situation and you're like, okay, well, it's 4th and this, clock's this. Okay, we're going to go with this. They've talked about it. They have game management stuff in place, but it's the guys that don't, like Vic freaking Fangio. You could tell that guy had no freaking clue what the hell he was doing when it comes to game management. So yeah, there are outliers, but like Sean McVay, he came in, but look, there's a lot of other stuff too that goes with Sean McVay, that he's a good delegator too. He lets his coaches coach. A lot of these coaches, when they let their coaches coach, that's why I'm happy we got Evero in here. I'm happy we got Hackett, because these guys coach, that you can tell they've been with staffs where they're allowed to coach. So that's what I'm excited for. So I don't like it. I hate it to see it, but it's the wave of the future, and I'm excited to see how it evolves.
And so I guess I'm going to go back to my original question. What is the point of an offensive coordinator if they don't even call plays? And leave a comment. We got a couple of comments, or text us as well. The number's on the bottom ticker of your page right now. So, for example, and this is all hypothetical, I'm just going to throw this back, and I'm going to relate it back to the Shanahan and Gary Kubiak, and I guess Greg Williams, but I think he was just given the defense, and then Shanahan obviously was more of an offensive guy. But when Kubiak, for example, again, this is just a scenario. If he's calling plays and Shanahan, sees something like, oh, you shouldn't call that play, that's where you come in and override that's, as a play caller, you're just going off a sheet maybe. Obviously we know like the first, what, Matt, 8 to 10 plays are scripted
Yep. Yep.
to start a game or start a half or start a quarter, whatever, however you want to look at it. But that gives the head coach not only looking at the offense, but the defense as well, and say, let's go with this play or something like that. So he has an overall view of the field. Rather, if you're just an offensive play caller, you're just kind of looking and saying, let's just do this play or something like that. I don't know. I've never been on a football field in that capacity, but that's what, in my mind, that's how I see it going down. Where if you're just narrowed in on the offense, like for example, Vic Fangio was just
Right.
narrowed in on the defense, didn't really care about anything else. And like, what was the point of a defensive coordinator the last couple of years when nothing? Like,
Right.
Vic Fangio was supposed to be this defensive guru, and he struggled mightily as a head coach. Like, and he's like, I'm not used to coaching on the field. I want to eat all the meatballs, this pasta, and then, he just struggled from seeing the game as a head coach. And I
Right.
guess that's what my point is.
Right, right, and that's a great point. And with that example you said there, and I have been in the position of head coach and a coordinator or assistant coach, and in the assistant coach's position, you're like, if you're calling the plays, or maybe you're not calling plays, maybe the head coach is calling plays. Maybe what you're responsible for is saying, hey, what's down in distance right now? What's down in distance? That's your job. Hey, coach, hey, we got 2nd and 5. Hey, we got 3rd and 5 here. We got 3rd and 2 here. And we're on our side of the 50, so maybe think about punting here, setting up field position, or if we're on their side of the 50, maybe we can go for it here, coach. Or if you're offensive coordinator, you're like, hey, coach, you start the series. Like, I remember doing this all the time. Like, hey, coach, how many downs I got here? We got 5 minutes left in the game. I want to get some points here. How many downs I got? Do I got all 4 downs? Are we playing field position? What are we doing here, coach? And then they'll relate that to you. It just goes back. That's why it's having a good dynamic. I thought it looked like Vic Fangio to me. Now he's worked with Donatel, and when these guys bring their guys in, it's either that's my guy that I want in the foxhole with me, and I know that guy's going to do his job, or that's a guy I want in the foxhole with me because he's not going to say anything. He's not going to talk back at me. He's not. I can put him at D coordinator, and I can do whatever the hell I want as head coach, and that guy's going to agree with everything. He's a yes man. I'm not saying that Donatel was that. I'm just saying that there's examples of those coaches too, where you bring a guy in and that guy's going to agree with everything you want, but you need to fill a position. So you bring him in to put him in there so you can essentially get by. You don't have a defensive coordinator saying, well, coach, maybe we should do this instead of that. And they go back and forth. So there's so many different dynamics out there that you can have. I think with what we have here, and your question was, why do we need an offensive coordinator if Hackett's going to call the plays? Well, in Hackett's system, he might, Ott might be doing something like he might be coordinating the run game. I think he was the run game coordinator with the Packers too. He might be coordinating the run game. He might be getting all that ready to go. And then also, relaying things to putting the running backs in, maybe the running back coach might be doing that. There's all kinds of different jobs that coaches could do. It just depends on how that head coach wants to run his program. And there's so many outcomes that can come with it. That's why I'm excited about this staff, because I think these coaches, from what I can tell, these coaches get out there and they coach, and that's awesome for young players.
Yeah, and we hope that a guy like Russell Wilson will just kind of raise as a player, raise the coaching staff up if there are limitations or deficiencies that the coaches don't see that Russell Wilson sees, just like a Peyton Manning did
exactly.
with like a John Fox or a Gary Kubiak. So we have that as well. We'll get more into like position groups, position battles as training camp approaches here in just a couple weeks. Victor commented, "Cut Josie Jewell." Yeah, we'll get into
the outlaw. We want to cut the outlaw already.
Yeah. The middle linebacker position, or the linebacking core as a group, needs to be looked at, and curiosity.
Is it undersized? I feel like it's undersized.
Something. We'll get into it as training camp approaches and as we go through training camp. And one more comment before we move on to baseball. Matt, Vic fired the analytics guy, which was a dumb move.
That was stupid.
And Vic's old school, so he doesn't even probably know what analytics is.
I hate that old school approach, man. Like I was trying to give the benefit of doubt to the old guys as much as I can. But that old school crotchety, it's my way or the highway. I hate like coaches like that. I can't believe that they're still around. And there's a couple coaches out there that still have that mindset.
But is it a wonder why Fangio hasn't landed anywhere yet, or do you think that he's just taking the year off?
I think he's taking the year off, and he'll end up somewhere next year, or he might be done. I don't know. I know that there was a lot of places I was reading somewhere where there was a lot of places where they were offering him jobs or consultants, and he just declined or whatever.
Miami or Jacksonville
Yeah,
from some kind of position.
one of those Florida teams I think did.
Yeah, definitely not Tampa Bay, but
Definitely not Tampa
we'll
Bay.
get into more football as the season approaches, as training camp approaches here.
Real quick. That's another example of a coach that's out, that's not in anymore, and is Bruce Arians. Him and Tom Brady, they butted heads, and now look where Arians is now.
Yeah, that was a weird situation.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where old man, get the hell out of here already. Tell Grandpa to shut up.
Yeah, and yeah, he finds himself in the front office all of a sudden. So that's pretty. By the way, man, I just noticed your Dwight Schrute photo in the back there.
You like that?
And I are you wearing a Schrute Farm shirt? Is that
I
say
am.
Schrute? There you go. Yeah, we're big Office fans. You'll hear some of our clips and drops. We're definitely flying from the seat of our pants this show. We should have checked our technology and stuff like that. If you followed us before, we are not good with checking stuff before we go on. So we love technical difficulties. All right, Matt, your favorite baseball team is in play right now. Started off pretty well. Started off, had a good, April, and then May came around, and it just went crazy. And now the Rockies are back in their normal position and the bottom of the NL West.
It's like they are who we thought they were, right? Like the old Denny Green stuff. We are who they thought they were. I was excited a little bit because they were pitching well, I felt like, for a little bit. And that's always something that was been an issue. I can't excuse the defense. This Rockies team has always been a good defensive baseball team, and they have been absolutely horrible this season. And it has been tough to watch. I can't watch bad defensive baseball and at the major league level. And how Chris Bryant, like how long was he out? Because he only played like 20 games or something, hasn't he?
He missed like 4 months, I feel like.
Did he have heavy legs?
To his credit, though, he came back. I think he's hit like 4 home runs in 3 games.
I mean, that's
just imagine if they had him, towards the beginning of the season. And what is he getting paid? $65 million.
something ridiculous.
But let's get rid of Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado.
I know. I don't understand this baseball team. Like I try to just be like, okay, you know what? They're in it for the entertainment. Okay, fine. Sports entertainment's fun. Let's go to Colorado. Let's go to the stadium, but it's not entertaining watching bad baseball. I don't care who they're playing. I was hoping that they would come up. They got Crone, they got Bryant. Get some more long bombers and then just hit the balls out at lose like 12 to 15 every game. I don't care. That's entertaining, right? I don't know what the hell we're watching right now. I don't.
I've already seen Crone's name come up as trade deadline.
I wouldn't be
so
I wouldn't be shocked.
And it's funny because we were such hockey mode for so long because it's been a while since we've had hockey, towards the end of June into July, that that's when usually baseball takes over, man. Then we're stuck drinking purple Kool-Aid for like 3 or 4 months. And this was the one time the Rockies had to win a couple series here and there, climb the way up the NL West, and maybe make some kind of, I don't want to say run, because I don't think they're going to run anywhere besides back down to the garbage bin. But this was their chance, between hockey and football season, to try to make a name for themselves, and they just fail every single year at doing that. So, and as you mentioned, there's a fine line between going to a game and actually watching a game, right, and going to the game and just having fun. And you wonder why there's nets now all around Coors Field, because people don't go to watch a game. They're just sitting there drinking beer on their phone, talking. They don't pay attention. They get hit in the head with a ball.
That right. I And I don't even like, it's not even entertaining me to, I used to enjoy going down there, getting a Rocky Dog, drinking a beer. I don't even care if it gave me gas, the beer, not the Rocky Dog, but just, and then take and keep score. And then now it's like, I don't, that did not sound fun to me at all. I go down there and watch the party deck, watch everybody walk around over there all liquored up and everything. It was entertainment, and it was, but that was because maybe we can see a decent baseball game. Maybe we can see a Nolan Arenado make a crazy play over their third base. Maybe see Trevor Story make a crazy play at shortstop, then go hit a couple home runs. I mean, stuff like that. You at least we got to see that. But now it's like, I hate bad defense. But you know what, Mike? We got to give it to them. Didn't they just like beat the Dodgers in a series or something here or a couple weeks ago, or 4th of July weekend?
Oh, they just lost a series to the Dodgers.
Well, didn't they beat the Dodgers a couple weeks ago?
They played pretty well against them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to find some silver lining I'm just trying to throw it out there, because it's when you put Rockies on this list, I'm like, God, man, I don't have anything positive to say about them right now. I really don't.
Yeah, it's crazy. And going back really quickly here to the Broncos conversation, Victor commented when we were talking about The Office and said Michael Scott at interior linebacker. So
can you imagine Michael Scott there?
I don't know if Dwight Schrute made a great tackle in that one episode where they were tossing the football around. He tackled Ryan.
Yeah,
but that was good. That was good form.
So yeah, it was great form. I would love to see Dwight, the K Schrute. What's the K stand for? Real quick trivia.
Kurt.
Yes.
Dwight Kurt Schrute.
Yeah. And then I see a comment, Keith Brugman. That's what Larry Walker, Dante Bichette. Those days were fun. That's what I'm talking about. I just turned the comments on. I forgot about the comments. That's what I'm talking about. I want to see that again. I never understood why the Rockies, if they were all about entertainment, if that's what they want to do, pack that house, go throw all kinds of money at these big hitters, go throw all kinds of money at the fireballers, man. Get those guys that throw 90, 100 miles an hour or whatever it is. Bring those guys in here, make it entertaining for us. If you're going to make it entertaining, I know it's like, Matt, it is entertaining. The field's packed, but still, it's like for baseball fans like me, okay, you're not going to be good. You're not going to try to be good. So let me go watch and see these guys like a home run derby all the time. That'd be fun. Would you go to that, Mike?
Well, not only that, but back when those guys were on the team, they were close to being a playoff team.
They were a wild card team that one year. 90, what was it?
95.
95.
Were that wild card team. They lost to the Braves, who eventually won the World Series that year. So you're just kind of like, whatever. And I don't have it in front of me, but those teams were actually close, if not playoff teams, every single year with those guys. So, and they didn't make another run until 2007, which was another fun team. And then you have obviously Helton spanned across like 2 decades of eras.
Yeah.
So it seemed like the 2000s and 2010s were the Todd Helton era, but you had the Matt Hollidays, you had the Carlos Gonzalez's. Cargo was here for 10 years and didn't really, and he came after 2007 because he was part of that Matt Holliday deal. So he didn't even really experience, maybe he experienced 2009. I guess he was on that team when they made the playoffs. Was it 2018? I want to say where Tony Wolters had that walk-off hit against the Cubs. I think that was 2018. I don't know.
It was recent. It was the most recent. It was pretty close here because when did Nolan Arenado? They signed him 19, wasn't it? And then that year they were supposed to be competitive because that's when they built up. They got.
Well, according to Nolan, they didn't build up anything.
Well, I mean,
he was already sending his mixtapes to Adam Rainwright and the Cardinals.
God, when I heard about that, I kind of lost a lot of.
I lost everything.
I was for Nolan, but when I heard that, I was like,
But if you're the Rockies, you still choose the player over the GM. And then of course, like 6 months later, what was his? I don't even remember his name now. Bridich. Literally 6 months later, he walks out anyway.
That was so. That was just so.
Like did he do that?
It made no sense. But and the team wasn't better because I read so many things and I've gone back and forth with this. I don't think the team was better when they traded him. No. And they got back. I don't get it.
You're only playing one guy that you got back in that trade, and that's Austin Gomber,
and you
who's
had to pay for it too.
who's pretty terrible.
He's right. And that's what I'm saying. Like your team, you're when you trade a guy like that, you're supposed to get the entire future of the team you traded him to. Not Austin Gomber and pay all that. Like I tried to understand it. I really did. And I just can't. That's why it's like I'm struggling with this baseball team right now.
Yeah, it's been hard to watch. The one bright spot, I guess, has been CJ Cron, the Crone zone, all of that. He's been hitting home runs. This might be
Connor
the first
Joe
year.
too.
Yeah, Connor Joe's a fan favorite. Actually, the old man Blackman has
Yeah.
been hitting pretty decently. Every time I get an alert, it says Charlie Blackman hits a home run. Charlie Blackman drives in a couple runs. So the old man and his beard's still getting it done, I guess. And he's moved or transitioned more into first of all, he's transitioned to a DH role. But do you like the DH in the National League now? I don't think we've talked about it.
I do like the DH because I didn't like I always felt the pitchers should play baseball too, not just pitch. But if they were going to do the things that they do when they go out there, if they're not even going to take it seriously, then I did like the aspect, like, oh, we gotta maybe he's going to bunt here, maybe he's going to slap it here, maybe you had a pitcher that could hit. I did like that idea, but I think I do like the DH now because it eliminates somebody that doesn't take hitting seriously out of that lineup, and you can put somebody that you can use it as another position piece almost in a sense. Because I mean, if we had the DH, that prolongs a lot of careers for guys let's just face it, the David Ortizes of the National League. Now we can see those guys. So I do like it. At first I was kind of, get off my lawn about it because I want to see baseball players play baseball, and pitchers are supposed to be baseball players. They're just kickers essentially at this point. I mean, not really, but you know what I'm saying? I like it.
Yeah,
It's another position.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of like you in the sense that, like, why are we changing stuff like that? But like you mentioned, prolonging a career, this might save a couple years of Charlie Blackman's career.
Right.
So we'll look into that as well. One more baseball comment before we switch gears to the basketball. Here you go again, Keith. Every year I'm hoping for a major league season. Feels like we're with the Rockies. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
I don't think the I don't think the owners of the Rockies are like the owners of the then, I don't know if it's taboo to say now, the Cleveland Indians, because I think what are they, the Guardians now?
Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not sure that they are like that. If the Rockies were to go on some super incredible run, that the owner would get pissed off and not move the team. But yeah, I mean, I think that they should. I don't think this, despite what the Rockies do on the field, it's not going to change what ownership does at all.
Right. That's
build another party deck anyway.
That right there. They'll just the Rockies get good because my expectations of it, like he said, like Keith said there, every year I'm hoping for a major league season, and I'm like I'm thinking the same. Like, I thought they were going to do that a couple years ago, but now I'm looking at it and I'm if they are good, if they start to play good, that like you said, that's just going to get another bigger party deck out there because they're going to bring a lot of revenue and money in because people can watch them because they're playing good baseball or they're competitive. And like to Charlie Black, like you go see Charlie Blackman and stuff like that. And it's just sad. Like, I don't know if the Monforts aren't going to sell the team because there's no reason for them to sell the team. We don't necessarily want or you see what happened with the Broncos, right? Like there was unrest. We were getting close to like civil unrest here in the state. Like there was going to be riots and stuff because this team was so bad. Nobody cares about the Rockies right now.
Well,
Nobody cares. Nobody's going to be up and rest about them.
That's because that's just what we're used to.
Yeah, that's it. That's
like,
exactly
was it last year or the year before? It was the first time the Broncos were under 500 in like God knows how many years. But I think it was the year after. It was a 2016 when they came back with Trevor Siemian. They went 9-7.
Right.
and they still had Kubiak. The year after that was was that the first year they were like under 500 or something like that
Yep.
for the first
Yep.
time,
And the next 5 years were just awful.
it was like the first
Yeah.
losing season in the Pat Bowlen era
Right.
or something like crazy like that.
Well, and
Again, I
did you
don't have
see there was a stat too that the Broncos, I think they're 3rd in wins in the past, what, like 50 years or some crap like that?
yeah.
They're 3rd in wins.
So again, the fan base is not used to the Broncos having down seasons, and now that's why everyone's so excited about Russell Wilson coming back after 5 years of those Simeons, Flacco's, Keenums, Bridgewaters, Locks, Lynch's. That's why everyone's so excited to get that brand name quarterback. And we got lucky and spoiled with scoring 50 points a game with Peyton Manning.
Mhm.
And again, I kind of bring this back to the Avalanche. You know, John Elway at quarterback reminded me of Patrick Waugh goalie. Patrick Waugh was the goalie, Matt, from 96 to 2003. You didn't have that lapse in goaltending. And after 2003, you had, I don't even remember the names, maybe a Craig Billington throw in there. But then you had Varlamov for 8 years.
Right.
And then you bring in a guy like Grubauer, and I think they had Peter Budaj was
Budaj,
a
right.
name
They
in
had
there.
Booty.
Craig Wellington, I think, was back during those Patrick Waugh years. But
Mhm.
the that's what so
Yeah.
reminds me like of, and now Russell Wilson. You were going to hope that Darcy Kemper was going to be a Russell Wilson type, but that they're going a different direction. Frankie, who's been on the team for what 2-3 years, maybe he can become that. He had solid outings in the playoffs. At one point, he won 8 straight for the Avalanche this season when he started in goalie. So before we move on to the Nuggets to close out the show, Matt, Rockies as they sit right now in the NL West, 37-48. So not
It's
lack
right
of,
on par.
I was going
It's
to say,
right on par.
for lack of a better term, not totally out of the picture. They're 9 back in the wild card. So I don't know. And really quickly, Matt, want your opinion on their license plate jerseys.
Oh,
If they didn't have green pants, Matt, I think if they went with white pants with like maybe a green stripe on the side or maybe like green pinstripes,
yeah.
it'd be better. But green pants just throws it all off.
I did not like that. They
I
look
like the hat, though.
like a minor league team, you know?
Well, did you see San Diego's City Connect jerseys? They look like a Miami club. They were like all the
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's again, like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, Milwaukee had a cool one though. I like the Brewers City Connect jersey.
Yeah, they did have a good I do like those. And it's again like our Nuggets jerseys when they do those Nuggets jerseys like that.
Oh, I hated and as we terrible transition into the
Yeah.
Nuggets, as they had the like the Avs old. I don't know if you remember this Avs third jersey, but it was burgundy, all burgundy, and it had Colorado going
Yeah,
diagonal.
right, yeah.
So the Nuggets had that, was it 2 years ago? That burgundy jersey that looked
Mhm.
like the Utah Jazz, like
They look like jazz colors, yeah.
It was terrible.
That was terrible. I always love anything with the pickaxe. When they bring the pickaxe and they throw that in there, I love that.
I actually liked the jerseys they came out with last year. They brought like all of the logos kind of back.
Yeah.
They used where it says Denver across the chest. That was the like David Thompson era font. They had the rainbow skyline on the sides with the diamond pattern. I like those ones.
Yeah, I like those too.
But anyway,
and I'm old school Nuggets. I like the Antonio McDyess jerseys. The
I still have.
white and was it
There's like a
Jalen Rose?
burgundy and
I
like
think I still have a Jalen
like a
Rose one.
dark navy.
Yeah,
Those those are
I like that.
those
one.
are old school.
Those are way old school,
Yeah,
man.
I had a McDyess and a Nick Van Exel jersey of those.
Did you? I
Remember
had
him?
a Rose jersey, and I think I want to say I had a Stith or a Williams jersey.
Ooh, Brian Stith. That was a nice one.
Yeah, I love that one.
So the Nuggets. Kelvin Booth comes in here as GM, and I want to get your opinion because I had an argument with a friend about this, and we'll get into that in a couple minutes. Kelvin Booth comes in as a GM. Tim Connolly goes to Minnesota, and you saw 30 seconds into didn't even get his nameplate on the door, and he trades for Rudy Gobert. So he has a big move before everyone wanted him to make that big move in Denver, and maybe that was the Aaron Gordon trade at the trade deadline last season. And Aaron Gordon's been a solid player. I don't know if you saw the Adam Sandler movie, but he made an appearance in that.
Oh, did he? No, I haven't seen that movie yet.
Yeah, he was in. It was a good movie. Speaking of Wancho, Juancho
Juancho,
Hernan Gomez, who was a star of that movie, did an excellent job. He was just cut by the aforementioned Utah
right?
Jazz. So maybe bring Bo Cruz, which is his name in the movie, maybe bring him back for whatever. But Calvin
Yeah.
Booth, he trades. Thank God, Will Barton. God, we've been wanting Will Barton to get out of town for
Yeah.
so. It was kind of reminding me of the Iverson trade, where you're like, or no, not the Iverson trade, where the Carmelo trade to
Mellow.
New York, where Chauncey had to go with him. It's
Mhm.
like, God, did you really have to bring Monte with you? But there was no room for any more point guards. If Jamal Murray is going to be healthy, you got Bones waiting in the wings, who hadn't. He probably would not have even seen the court, Matt, because
Right.
Michael, don't call me Mike Malone, does not trust rookies. But Bones did an awesome job. He makes some big shots in the playoffs. What do you make of this team now? They trade Will Barton and Monte Morris to Washington. Contavious Caldwell Pope comes over. They signed Bruce Brown from the Brooklyn Nets. We'll see about DeAndre Jordan. I think he's finished. That was a weird move.
That
So
was a weird
obviously,
one.
I would honestly, man, I'd rather see Boogie Cousins come
Me
back.
too. 100% me too. That out of everything that has happened, I think that's the only one where I'm looking like that doesn't make any. It's like, you got all these shots. Like if you're shooting target practice, you got all these groupings, you got real tight groupings, and you got this one shot way over here. It's like that's Jordan over here. It's like, what the hell, DeAndre Jordan? Why did you draft? And it was like immediately when it was like they snuck in and got, it was weird. But other than that, man, like I wasn't mad at the Monte Morris. I know a lot of people there's a lot of hate about that. I love the dude. They drafted him. He's gonna be a good basketball player, but I think they see Bones as being better. And I think they see Bones as having that higher ceiling. And because of what he did, I know Monte did some things in the playoffs last year at Portland when MPJ went down. And of course, Jamal Murray was down, or not MPJ, but Jamal Murray was down the season before this past season. He was great in the playoffs, but Bones, man, that Golden State series, there was some games in there where I was like, man, he's showing out, he's showing up. And the things that he did in the season. But like you mentioned, that he wouldn't have got any run during the season without the injury. So that's kind of a blessing in disguise. But everything that Booth has done, and I think too that there's a little bit of this with Conley that I noticed, and I'm curious to see if MPJ or these guys if it doesn't work out, and if they get traded quickly. That I think Conley was clutching these guys, like those are his babies, like Monte Morris, like he wasn't going to trade that guy. MPJ probably not going to wasn't going to trade. Like I'm wondering if that was a thing with Conley, and now that Conley's gone, you see Monte go and Barton go. I'm not even going to touch Barton because that he needed to go. I'm not gonna beat him up. I didn't hate him as much, although there were times I couldn't stand him, the things that he did, but there were times that he did good stuff.
Good
But
reading.
he did need to go. He did need to go. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
He was gone. Barton was and I understand it. I get it. He needed to go. It was time for Barton to go. KCP's tremendous, man. Oh, I love KCP here. That and the kid that they got. You just said him. The guy that got from the Nets.
Bruce Brown.
Oh man, those two. This team on the perimeter now. We watched what Steph Curry did. We watched Klay Thompson and those guys, and then we got Booker. Now we got Morant that we got to worry about in this conference, and then you got John Wall over there. We don't know if he can still play basketball. That's in the Clippers. I don't know what the hell the Lakers are doing, but this division is the twos and the threes in this division are freaking are really, really good. Lillard, we still got Dame Lillard over there. So defensively on the wings, this team, man, Aaron Gordon with what they can do off the bench. Defensively, this team got better. And I'm curious to see if health-wise with Jamal Murray and PJ, they're saying they're healthy. He's healthy. I'm hoping they are healthy, and I'm hoping they contribute because I am not opposed to trading, if not one or both of those guys, to put somebody with Joker finally. If we're not in the 1 or 2 seed by the time we get to that trade deadline, somebody needs to go because we're not wasting Joker anymore. This is about Joker. This isn't about the core. This is about Joker now.
Yeah, when you have a 2-time MVP who's supposed to be playing with those 2 core guys, you're not going to get far in the playoffs. I was honestly shocked that Golden State didn't sweep them. They won in 5, but yeah, I was surprised about that. You brought up a couple points I want to touch on. First of all, is the two LA teams. You know, the Clippers. We'll see what Paul George and Kawhi Leonard look like. Um, the health there, and you know the health of Anthony Davis. LeBron is refusing to sign an extension with the Lakers unless they get Kyrie Irving. I just wish that I could just go to my job and be like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mhm.
All right, see ya. Um, that's a position I wish I was in nowadays. But you know, and Kevin Durant again pulling the same strings. I don't know if you saw this report, Matt. And maybe it was just one of those bogus basketball sites or sports Facebook pages or whatever. But it said that the Nets inquired about a Durant, Ford, Jokic, Murray, and Porter Jr. trade. Like you said, I'd pull the switch on Murray and Porter Jr., but you got to put somebody with Joker. So
Mhm.
you can't do that trade. You know, if I was the Nuggets, be like, instead of Joker, I'll give you Murray, Porter, Bones, I guess, and maybe a couple picks. I would have did that, but because it's Kevin Durant, I don't care if he's 25 or 35 years old. You got to make that move to pair him with Joker. But again, I don't know how reliable that page that I saw that on. Apparently, the Nets have been sniffing around a lot of teams. Apparently, they wanted Anthony Edwards
Right.
and Karl Anthony Towns from Minnesota. You're not
Yep.
going to break up that duo, especially when you just get Rudy Gobert. Um, so yeah, I mean, you got to pull the switch on some of these trades, but and again, John Wall with the Clippers, who knows what that's going to look like either. So the Western Conference is all screwed up now.
It's like I don't know what the like what's up is down, down is up, and now Phoenix. I don't think Phoenix is going to be as good as they have been if they don't lock up Aiton.
Well, yeah, and they're trying to get rid of him.
Right, they're trying to get rid of him. I don't think they're going to be as good as they think they are. Man, that dude protects the paint. I'd love to have Aiton here. I know there's probably no way that can happen, but I'd love to have a guy like that here. But I did read that too about Kevin Durant. And that's so silly because why would Kevin Durant want to come here without Nikola Jokic? That makes no freaking sense
Well,
whatsoever.
yeah, not
And
only probably Kevin Durant not want that, the Nuggets obviously did not want that as well. So
right,
you're not going to break up three of them, maybe two of them, like you mentioned, but not all three.
like I'm fine. I'm going to say it right now. I'm fine with if we need to if it's going to take trading Jamal. I love Jamal Murray, one of my favorite basketball players right now. But if we need to trade him, and MPJ, as far as I'm concerned, they should have traded MPJ 2 years ago.
Well, not only trade him, but never sign him to a max deal.
They never. Yes, they and that
was the
again.
first
That to me, that reeks of Tim Connolly. That reeks of okay, we got to sign this guy because I've been reading things about this too that there's some players in this organization that are Kroenke guys that are Josh Kroenke guys, and you're never going to see them go. And I guess MPJ's one. I think MPJ was a Tim Connolly guy. I think MPJ was one of those Connolly cuddles that he wanted to get that guy in here. He wanted to have him here, and he wanted to make sure he believed a lot in MPJ. I still. They paid him. Okay, you made your decision. That's what you were going to do. Then he immediately gets hurt. Doesn't even contribute nothing last year. Okay, bad luck on the guy. Okay, he's got injury problems. Well, why did you sign him for that much money? When you drafted him, he was coming off injuries. He played 2 seasons at Missouri, barely 2 seasons at Missouri. The talent is there. He's fragile. He's like Odom. He's very similar to the Odom or maybe even Anthony Davis to a certain extent. If we can get this is what I'm hoping right now, Mike. If we can get an Anthony Davis career out of Michael Porter Jr., I'd be happy. Meaning he plays, whatever, 20, 30, 40 games, gets hurt, comes back for the playoffs, blah, 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 every year, whatever. If we do that, would you be okay with that and Joker wins a couple championships?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. And I don't know if you saw the live look-in when Tim Connolly got to Minnesota and looking back at his Nuggets career. That was a live look-in right there. So, yeah, I mean, the max deal was your first mistake, and you're trying to build around Joker, but you want MPJ part of this core, you want Jamal Murray part of this core, and I just don't know if it's I hate to say this because you get rid of another glue guy like Gary Harris. I know he was hurt, but he was more of a defensive guy. He re-signs with Orlando actually a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just odd to me how they are trying to build around Joker. Now, you get rid of Will Barton and Monte Morris. I guess that's a start for Kelvin Booth as the new. First of all, what do you make of Kelvin Booth and you like the KCP, you like the Bruce Brown, but what do you make of Kelvin Booth as a general manager, as you know, as a whole?
I like him. I like him so far because I got like he's doing his own thing. He's doing his own thing, and I think that was him by him trading Monte Morris and him throwing it, because I was reading they didn't want to include him. They didn't want to include him, but he was one of those guys that the Capitals wanted, and or not the Capitals. Who the hell's who? What the Washington? The Wizards, or were they the Wizards?
Graham Wizard.
Yeah, that team. They wanted Monte Morris, and I from what everything I read, but that tells me that okay, I know Monte's a core guy. I'm okay with trading a core guy, and that tells me right there that move tells me that he's his own guy. And then when he brought in DeAndre Jordan, he's his own guy. He's doing his own moves. He's making his own moves. So I'm happy to see that, and I just don't know. Because there was a style of, because you saw Conley bring in Facundo Campazzo, right? That's like a style.
He's gone, right? Like
He's
we don't
gone.
see him anymore.
Nah, I don't think we see him anymore. He's gone.
He went back to the Mount Mordor or whatever.
Yeah, he went back to he went back to the Misty Mountains.
Yeah.
The Shire. No, that's sorry. Hey, he was great. That dude could do some pretty cool things, but I couldn't stand it when he's on the basketball court most of the time.
But see, that's what's funny about Michael Malone is he always, like, veterans who make mistakes, he'll play because they're veterans. But a guy like Facu, who he lost trust, and he was in the doghouse for the back half of last season. You never really saw him touch the court unless it was a blowout or something like that. So I don't know. The Malone's. Do you lose any depth with Monte leaving if you have Bones as the backup point guard now? Do you lose any depth there because Bones is so young, or is the bench pretty much solidified? Because now you lose. Well, Barton was a starter, but he should have been coming off the bench.
Right.
You lose Boogie Cousins. You have DeAndre Jordan coming off the bench now as, I guess, the backup center. I don't know how much time he'll see. Does Pope enter the starting lineup? Where does Aaron Gordon fit into this? Obviously Bones is going to see the court because I don't think Murray is going to get a whole lot of minutes starting out coming back from his injury.
I'm curious to see how that rotation looks. I really am. And I think what you lose with Morris more than anything is you lose the leadership and the maturity on that second unit, because Bones is he's a second year guy. The things that Bones can do is he's a shot in the arm, that we need a spark off the bench kind of situation. Right now, that's what he is. But what Monte had is Monte could come out and he can still run the offense. Because you saw what Malone did with a lot of the rotations, and he had to do this last year. So I'm just going off of what we did last year, is he would leave Joker in with that second unit a long time just so they can keep going. And Monte would come in and run that. I don't know if they're going to do that this season. I'm curious to see if they do that, because that built up a lot of minutes with Joker, but they had to do it last year in order to win games. I don't know if they're going to do that this year, but with Monte, you had somebody that can come in and have the maturity level to run that offense and not just come in and start jacking up threes like, Barton would do, like I think Bones is going to do. So if Bones takes a step in maturity, I don't think they miss a beat as far as it goes to that sense. Yeah, you're going to miss the defense that Morris had. Bones isn't there yet. You're going to miss the you're going to miss the ball handling and the being able to put Morris in, in a game time situation, 2 minutes, 1 minute left in, knowing another ball carrier and ball handler, somebody that's not going to cause a turnover, stupid turn, make a stupid pass, make the right play. You lose that too. But you can have that. You can have that with maybe Brown, KCP. Maybe you could put that in there. Maybe somebody else steps up. But I think right now they're going to put a lot on Bones, and I think he's ready to take that next step. I don't know if he's going to have if the maturity level comes up, because you can tell when you watch that dude, he's jumping around, he's having fun, but that's still immaturity that's popping out of that cat. If he comes around, I think that second unit is going to be pretty good. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with DeAndre Jordan. I don't know if he even makes the basketball team.
Yeah, that was a weird move. And I think Boogie wanted to stay. Obviously, he's got a pretty good relationship with Michael Malone. Speaking of Michael Malone, that's why he does not play rookies, because of a guy like Bones, because of he's going to give you energy. He's going to give you, what did he make, man? He made like 4 or 5 3-pointers in a row. Was it against Golden State, or was it a game in the regular? I don't remember if it was the regular season.
He did it in the regular season. It was against, I think he had a game he went off in Philly, and there was another game where he went off somewhere else. But that game in Golden State, he kept the Nuggets. Like, I think the only reason why the Nuggets won that game or they were in that game is because of Bones.
Yeah. So, but you could see the immaturity that you talked
Mhm.
about. That's a reason why Michael Malone doesn't play rookies at all or that often or however you want to look at it. All right. One more question for you, Matt, before we wrap things up. Do you think that this is a make or break year for Michael Malone? Obviously, he's been here for what, 8+ years. He's got this team to the playoffs almost every single one of those years. Hasn't gotten over the hump. Again, we now that the Avs have won a Stanley championship, we're going to correlate everything to the Avs because now they are the standard in the city of Denver. Joe Sakic decided to stay with Jared Bednar. Even his first year after Patrick Wall chucked up the deuces and walked out like 3 weeks before the season started, you bring in Jared Bednar. They had a 48-point season, Matt, in 2017. It wasn't even that long ago.
Right.
And then they made the playoffs every year after that, bounced in the second round the last 2 years, bounced in the playoffs as a whole the last 4 years, and they finally got over the hump. Do you think that if the Nuggets do not at least make it to the Western Conference Finals or have a deep playoff run, or they get swept again in the first round? I'm going to say swept again in the first round because let's face it, Golden State dominated that series. Is this the time to actually and finally take a look at Michael Malone as a head coach?
Yeah, if the Nuggets aren't in the Western Conference Finals this year, I definitely think you start looking at Michael Malone, and
Especially with a two-time MVP.
Yeah, if and you're healthy, Porter's back, Murray's back. This defense, you got the guys you got the guys you can want on the wings. You got the guys that are going to play defense first. You got the guys that are going to do offense from defense. Everything that you want right now, I feel like he has. And if everybody's healthy, there's no excuse. There's no excuse why this team can't be in the Western Conference Finals. And it doesn't matter, the only team that I am legitimately looking at and terrified of in this Western Conference is the Dallas Mavericks, because I don't know what the hell they're going to do, and I don't know what Luka's going to be like. If Luka does and comes out and does just takes off from where he was last year in that playoff games. I know kind of towards the end he was kind of getting blown out and tired. Luka, man, that dude's something else, and that team terrifies me. So I think with the way this roster is built, with the way this team is, and Nikola Jokic in the middle, and with these two new guys that we got, being able to shoot, they're great 3-point shooters. KCP's like a 40-something 3-point shooter, and so is Brown when he comes off the bench. And Bones can do. There's so many things that are here and right for Malone to do what he needs to do. If they don't make the Western Conference Finals, yes, I really do think you need to start looking at Malone and start saying, okay, what is your message? Your message not working, your rotations, something like that. There's got to be something like that, something questioned, because his rotations, that's my biggest gripe with Mike Malone is his rotations. And you've mentioned it already. You've said it a couple times. He lost trust with Facundo. He would bring Barton in at certain situations that would hurt us, but then that certain situation that might be good for us. But his rotations right now, I think if he learns how to manage this team and manage this roster, and manage Nikola Jokic. Right now, we got to manage Nikola Jokic and make sure he is healthy and ready to go in the playoffs, because that's we can't waste this guy, man. That's my biggest thing, is we cannot waste this guy. So yeah, I do think if they don't get to the Western Conference Finals this season, that he should be looked at as being replaced potentially.
So really, last comment before we get it out of here. It is good that Joker signed that max huge deal for $260 million, the largest contract. It's weird to have the largest NBA contract in NBA history now reside in Denver. And I want to look at this comment by Keith once again. Seems like he meaning Kelvin Booth, wants to build his team and isn't bending to pressures big or small. And I think you have to put the pressure on Michael Malone. I don't think he's safe anymore, Matt. You have a new GM in here, Kelvin Booth. You have he's traded some of the core guys. I know it was Tim Connolly who traded Gary Harris, but Gary Harris is gone. That's one guy that was a Michael Malone, came up with Michael Malone as the head coach. You traded Will Barton and Monte Morris. Both of those guys were Michael Malone guys. So now you're bringing in new pieces who aren't, I guess, maybe used to this Michael Malone coach team, and they're veteran guys who are maybe won't put up with the stuff that those other core guys did.
Right.
And maybe it is up to a Jamal Murray, a Michael Porter Jr., a Joker, and maybe Aaron Gordon to that fact to tell these new guys like, hey, believe in this system, believe this guy. It's gonna happen for us. So I think the pressure has to be put on Michael Malone. And again, one more comment from Keith. Once again, I think if Joker gets another MVP and they don't make it to the Western Conference Final, he's gone.
Yeah.
You can't waste talent, and that ties into what you're saying, Matt. You cannot waste Nikola Jokic, two-time
No,
MVP. You can't do it.
I'm
You can afford to waste MPJ and Murray, but you cannot afford to waste Joker.
not what this guy's doing. Like if you got to see this guy in the NBA in a Western Conference, you got to see this guy in a meaningful playoff series where he's because what he can do. Well, like nobody. That's the biggest reason I think that there's all this Jokic hate or anti love. When it comes to MVPs and why people get mad is because they haven't got to see what we as Denver fans have seen a bunch of times just watching regular season games and even in the playoffs. We got to see what this guy can do, and you cannot waste him anymore. It's done wasting this guy, or trade him and then rebuild because we cannot waste this freaking guy's talent anymore. I agree 100% with Keith. Yeah, I can't waste him.
All right, we'll see what this. We'll see if Calvin Booth makes some more moves. We'll see what happens coming down the line. We just went through the NBA draft. Summer League is going on right now. We'll see how Christian Braun looks like. Everyone liked what his mom looked like at the NBA draft, but that's and again, the we don't have any drops yet. Well, we should have drops.
Oh man, this would
During
be
our
fun
next
to
show.
get those drops.
But yeah, Christian Braun, a couple of the other guys who were drafted by Calvin Booth, his first, I guess, draft as a his own, I guess, standalone GM. Also, Conchar got a 3-year extension as well by Calvin Booth. Jeff Green is back, the veteran guy. We'll see what happens to a guy like Marcus Howard. I think Brent Forbes actually went to Minnesota. He followed
Timmy.
over there. Devon Reed just signed back.
That's Devon Reed. That's a big one too, man. That was that guy. I like Devon Reed.
I don't really see Austin Rivers back on this team either. So we'll see what happens with this Nuggets roster. And as we mentioned, his first draft as a GM of the Denver Nuggets, Christian Braun coming in and Peyton Watson coming in. Ish Smith also part of that Monte Morris and Will Barton trade. 13th team. It's an NBA record now. So Ish Smith holding the record down.
And did you see Michael Malone's comments on Ish Smith too? He said something like they were glad that he was. It looks like he was a throw into the trade, but he was actually really a big piece, I guess, is what he said, because they were tired of Ish Smith beating them all the time. That's what he said.
He had a couple big games against the Nuggets.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know which team it was. I know one of them was Washington, but he's been on so many teams that you kind of lose track of it. But that's going to do it for us here on Elevation 5280 Sports on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Once again, go like the Facebook page, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Go follow the Instagram at Rocky MTNSN. If you don't know what that stands for, that's Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Follow Matt at Matt Mascarenas1. Follow me at Michael Spone or 5280 Radio. Thanks for all of the comments as well. You made the show go a lot smoother and a lot quicker. But we'll be back next week with another episode of Elevation 5280 Sports.